Welcome, friends, to my channel. My name is Vern Hool. I'll be your host as you venture in on the channel. What you'll find on this channel is the opportunity for you to learn how to go off grid and how to supply your own power, how to grow your own food, and how to live very cheaply and how to live as much off the land as you can. So on this channel, you'll find that we have videos on putting in solar systems. I'm a little bit of a technician. I've been in the technical industry for most of my life. And in 2016, I started studying solar energy and I got certified in the solar business. And you'll see on this channel some of my little solar experiments. Now, what we've recently done is we've sold our farm, and so we're going to move completely off grid, where there's no power, no natural gas, no hookups. And we're going to videotape all of this so you can see everything on this channel. Why? This is one of the biggest growing concerns right now in the world, is our environment. So the more that you and I can learn on how to survive without the amenities of power and all the amenities that we normally get, how can we survive? How can we live? So if there's a heat wave and all the power's cut off, what do? Do you stay there in the dark? No. For a little bit of investment, you can set yourself up an emergency system right in your home with solar. And we're going to show you how. First of all, let's take a look at what's going on in the world. This report is only 4 hours old. This is cutting news. I'm going to play it for you here, the whole thing.
A new UN climate report details humanity's impact on global warming, and it repeats a dire warning we've heard before. Act now or face irreversible consequences. Joining me from London is the CBC's Abby Kwadasan. She's been looking into this report. What are some of the key points here?
Arthi, several years of research, nearly 100 scientists worked on this report. It's about 1,000 pages long. And the main message, as you said, is act now to ensure a livable future on this planet. The report says that every region in the world is projected to face some sort of spike in climate hazards. It also says limiting global warming to that 1.5 degrees Celsius target that about 200 countries agreed to back in the 2015 climate conference in Paris may no longer be possible, because this report now says to achieve that target, the world needs to slash emissions by 60% by 2035. And as of right now, we know that most G20 governments are not on track to meet their Paris targets. Now, the IPCC also says reductions this decade will determine whether we not only just surpass that 1.5 target, whether we move into the 2 degrees Celsius mark, which would mean, as experts have previously said, that an additional 420 million people will be exposed to extreme heat. I spoke to a climate expert a short while ago, and he said this IPCC report is the gravest one that he's read. Let's have a listen.
The language in this report is far more grave. It's about the fact that we are now seeing multiple worrying signals from climate change, and we're not dealing with the problem fast enough. We're now at about 1.1 degrees Celsius above these pre-industrial levels, yet there is a clear signal that this warming is causing an increase in the frequency and intensity of a number of really harmful impacts: heat waves, floods, and droughts.
Now, experts, of course, have pointed out that we've already seen some of these heat waves and floods. This past summer here in the UK and across Europe, there were unprecedented heat waves. There was flooding too last year in Pakistan. 1/3 of that country was submerged underwater. Nearly 8 million people were displaced. And the report also points at the fact that those who don't emit as much greenhouse emissions in the developing world are the ones that are facing the dire consequences as of right now. But again, the main message being act now, Arthi.
And Abby, we've been hearing warnings from scientists for years. We were talking about that right off the top. Is it too late for action to improve the situation?
The report says there is a glimmer of hope, despite the fact that we can never go back to the way things were. There is a possibility of changing things and reducing emissions to the point that the future generations have a livable planet, that there is a window of opportunity to avoid disaster. The report that says that some future changes are simply unavoidable, but they can be limited with major reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. And we heard from UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who called on developed nations in particular to make those cuts as soon as possible, Arthi.
Thanks for this, Abby. That is Abby Kuwadasan in London.
Okay, so that's quite an eye-opening report. We know that the scientists have been talking to us about climate change. Now, for all of us, we're seeing it. We're seeing the effects. I know here in Alberta, a couple summers ago, the power grids all went down. For the first time in history, we hit 41 degrees Celsius, which I'm not sure in the Fahrenheit scale what that is, but that's in the hundreds. So it's here. And whether we want to admit it or not, it's here. What are we going to do? What can we do? So here's what we can do. We can start getting involved, and we can start looking at what we're doing as individuals to impact the planet. And we can take a look at our usage of gasoline, diesel, all of these things. Maybe we consider getting an electric car. I'm not sure. They're quite expensive. I can't afford one. So we just stay at home and we don't drive as much. So when we think of off-grid living, and we think of setting, there's lots to know about off-grid living wherever you're at. This one's in Colorado. And a lot of it's about getting your panels facing the sun. You notice in this picture here, his roof is not facing south, but these panels are. So sometimes you have to go to a ground mount, and you have to do that. If the roof of your house is good, you can use that as a ground mount as well. But let's talk just a little bit about where you can get solar panels and things like that. And you can set up a quick little solar system just in your home. Even if you're tied into the grid, the power goes out. This wouldn't be a grid tie. This would be something that you could use to run your air conditioner. You could run your, if there's a lot of sun out, you can run your cell phones, your laptops, and your computers. And you can start with, if you're going to go simple, I have a lot of videos on my channel with 12-volt systems. You can go to a 12-volt system. It's a simple way of going, and you can look at some of the 12 volts. Now, when you're looking at inverters, you want to go to pure sine wave inverters, because those are the inverters that will run your electronics. Never ever buy a modified. Modifieds, that's old technology. Good for running a drill maybe, and a light, but not electronics. It can burn your electronics out. It's because the band wave is not, it's not a smoother signal. It doesn't have the right AC like our house power, the modified. But if you go to a pure sine wave, it's exactly the same as your house power. Now, in every country, you have different ones. I'm showing you US stuff. You can go, if you're in Europe or Australia, you might have different provisions. Now, Ames is all over the world, Ames Power. And we did a lot. You'll see on my channel, we brought in a lot of solar equipment from offshore, from China. We bought a lot of China equipment, and we did a lot of testing with it. And now what we're doing is we're leaning more towards Ames. It's a US-based supplier. We found that we get better service. You call their 800 number, you get someone in English. They're very smart. And if you're going to go completely off grid, I recommend that you look at Ames, because you can buy the whole generator system all the way through, so it ties right in with your inverters, and you can design your system to be just like your house, more or less. So there's a lot involved, and we talk about designing a system. But I'll just show you a little bit. Let's say I'm going to choose a pure sine wave inverter. I'm going to do a whole house. I'm going to go to a 48-volt system. And we have other videos explaining why you would go to a 48-volt system. Quite simply, is your solar systems are 40 volts, and your batteries are 48 volts. So there's very little transfer. You don't have to transfer it all the way down to 12 volts. It just goes almost straight across. and it's a more efficient system. It's just a better system all around to run your house. Now, what I'm going with to run my little cabin is I'm going to go with this little 4,000 watt pure sine wave inverter. And if you click on there, you'll see that there's videos. There's overviews, videos. I'll just play a little bit of the video on this, and it'll give you an idea.
Ames Power 4,000 watt, 48 volt pure sine inverter charger with a surge of 12,000 watts for 20 seconds. This inverter charger is a split phase providing 120, 240 volt AC output and features an AC direct connect terminal block. This allows you to hardwire your AC input and output. This inverter outputs both 120 and 240 volts and requires a 240 volt to recharge the batteries and bypassing power. It also has a built-in automatic transfer switch, allowing it to switch between utility power and battery power smoothly. There are 5 dip switches on back of the inverter. They control specific special features including low voltage battery shutdown, AC input range, power save mode, frequency for 50 or 60 hertz, and battery priority mode. The battery priority mode allows you to choose your battery bank over the grid, so you use the renewable power you are harvesting before going back to utility power. You can connect an optional battery temperature sensor to monitor your battery bank and adjust the voltage and current of the charger based on the temp. You can also connect an optional on-off LED remote or an LCD remote panel to monitor many functions of the inverter. Lastly, there is a built-in auto gen start feature. Using a 2-wire open-close relay, it will automatically start your generator when your battery voltage drops low enough to alarm. The generator can then recharge your batteries while maintaining constant power. The DC terminals are located on the back of the inverter. 1 red, 1 black, covers included. The grounding terminal is a safety feature that will prevent high voltage on the case of the inverter in the event of a short in the system. There is a convenient 3-position on-off switch located on top of the inverter. Next to the on-off switch is a built-in multi-stage smart charger with a charge current control knob, allowing you to control the amount of current going to your batteries. There is also a battery type selector dial that allows you to choose the type of battery you are using, including lithium, AGM, gel, and wet batteries.
Okay, so that was a nice little video. It's the best one in the industry. What you'll find with these Ames inverters, they have a big reputation. They've been around for over 30 years. And all of our hospitals up here in Canada, this is what they use. You see, in a hospital, you have an operating room. And if the surgeons are in the middle of an operation, you can't handle a power outage. So they have these Ames with battery backup, and it monitors the power that's coming in. And when the power goes out, it takes over. And that's how this works. So it's a beautiful off-grid little inverter. It's has the 2 phases, so it'll work within the Canada and the US power systems, so you can do your split phase. And this is what we're going to go with our cabin. It's priced right. Now, if you want to buy one, we can get a little bit of a discount. We can also arrange that and get some help you design your system and so on and so forth. So now we look at solar panels. Ames does have solar panels. We can go to the solar panel selection. And what you'll find when you're buying solar panels is a lot of the suppliers like Ames, they specialize in inverters, and that's their specialty. You get into the solar panels, they have a selection of solar panels. And if you do the math here, they're charging about $1 a watt. And that's too high, $1 a watt for the commercial solar panels. So we take you to, there's a couple of other places you can go for solar panels. I'm going to go to Cabin Depot. We have a Cabin Depot in Canada, and you can get all kinds of stuff on the Cabin Depot. You can get your appliances. I'm just going to go to the home here, but there's appliances, propane. You can run them AC, DC. Now, if you're doing just a small cabin and you want to just do a DC system, you can get a DC fridge and do it that way. It's very small. You might go out there once in a while. But if you're going to live in it and live full time, I would recommend something like the Ames with a tie-in generator, all automatic. and just go with a standard efficient fridge. You don't have to buy one here at Cabin Depot and spend a whole lot of money. Just buy one that's smaller, a cabin style fridge, 120 volts, and it should be good. Now, they have other things. If you haven't heard of composting toilets, things like that, they have everything on Cabin Depot. And these are ways of setting, when you think of composting toilets, you can do a little bit of research. It's a way of handling all your black water efficiently when you're off grid. And we're going to show you more about this as we set all this stuff up in our new place. Now, one of the other things when you're thinking of solar panels, I deal with a company called Hess Solar. Now, this is here. This is these guys, and they have the Q cells. I'm going to go all the way down to the Q cells. Now, the Q cells are the best deal with these guys. You're going to get them with HC Solar. You're going to get them at about 60 cents a watt, and that's how solar is sold. Whereas if you go to Cabin Depot, I looked at their solar, and you're going to pay quite a bit more on their solar. So here we are, solar panels. Where are we? Solar and wind equipment, solar panels. So I looked at their solar panels and the Q cells. Now, if you buy a bundle, they have them bundled. If you just buy one, you're going to pay 80 cents a watt here. And the Q cells are really good because they're bifacial. You can get energy from both sides depending on how you set that up. You can buy a 6-pack here. It's 75 cents a watt. And if you buy a 12-pack, it's 70 cents a watt. That's a Cabin Depot. Now, these guys all buy probably off Hess over here. And these Q cells you'll buy at if you're a dealer or an electrician, you can sometimes get a better deal. But you shouldn't be paying much over 60 cents a watt. In fact, if you're buying any kind of volume, you may buy at 50 cents a watt. And it's important to buy this stuff as cheap as you can and buy the best stuff. So that's what we're going to show you on this channel, is how to buy the best stuff, how to set it up, and how to set yourself up a little system that can help you in the event of a power outage. And you can tie it in. It can work as a backup system. So you plug it into your outlet, and if the power goes down, now you have emergency power. Just like in an operating room, you have emergency power. You can run an extension cord in your house. You can plug in laptops, lights. You can put your solar panels outside the house somewhere. You might only need a few. But if you're doing a backup system, you might go with a smaller system. You wouldn't go with a 4,000 watt. You might only go with 1,000 watts and keep the cost down even more. So put your comments in, and we look forward to hearing from you, and we can certainly help you out in this area. So when we think of climate change, it's coming upon us. It's coming quickly, and there's lots of problems on the earth right now. And I recommend get involved, get yourself equipped, have a little bit of a backup system, have some fresh water, things like that. And I think the more we do as individuals and the more we can learn from others out there, the better equipped we are when the lights go out. Because it's not a matter of if the lights go out, it's a matter of when they will go out. So until next time, friends, keep living your life with love. And that's my main theme. It always works. You live your life with love, and you don't live it with fear. The fear of what's coming can be destructive to our minds. So if we live with confidence, with love, we enjoy everything around us, that will make a huge difference in our lives. Well, thanks again, friends, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.